Hello, good evening, and welcome, ladies, gentlemen, and people who identify as others, for yet another exciting evening of racing here at the SSRI YouTube channel, or Simsport Racing International, if you're so pleased to go into details. I'm Mr. Warner Walliver, and joining me in the booth tonight will be the wonderful Sam Pierce, and behind the cameras are the always creepy Mr. Chris Hill. So, Sam, Snetterton racetrack. Any thoughts on that? I have zero experience with this whatsoever, so you take it away for this one.
Yeah, so I've not raced Snetterton that much either, but have been doing my homework. Yeah, it's an interesting track. It's one of your very typical tight, twisty British tracks. Like a lot of our circuits here in the UK, it's a converted RAF World War II airfield, so it's bumpy, it's not cambered, overtaking is challenging, it's narrow, and yeah, it's quite condensed, but with two nice long straights. So yeah, should be interesting. It's not a very popular track on ACC, so a lot of people don't have a lot of experience with it. So it's always interesting to come and race at a track like this, just to see how quickly drivers pick it up from those that don't have as much experience and as others. As we're going to see with you, Oliver, next week for Tier 1. You've never raced here, but looking at your practice times, they're not too bad. You've been doing all right.
Yeah, probably. I have no idea if I'm doing good or not, but I think the thing about this track, it's a tight, technical, and twisty track. Oh, that's the tongue bender for this evening, by the way. It's a tight, twisty, technical track that will play into the the abilities, the strong suits of some, and the weaknesses of others. So it's going to be interesting to see who will pull the most out of this. It's the people who can break their cars and get them turned in tight corners who will benefit the most out of this track, but there are some fast corners as well on this track, including the Brundle-Nielsen chicane and the bomb hole, of course, which we had to mention. And I think that you have a great story about why it's called that, same.
Yeah, I like many people, I always assumed that Bombhole was named that because there had been a unexploded World War II ordnance discovered buried in that corner. Some people say that a bomb was dropped on that corner during the war, but in my research today, it has absolutely nothing to do with bombs whatsoever. It's motorcycle racers who hate the corner with a passion because there is a massive dip right in the middle of the corner, right on the racing line, right against the curb. And they were just constantly saying in commentary that they hate it, that it was a bumhole of a corner, and of course you can't really say that in proper British commentary. So the organizers said, well, let's call it Bombhole then, just to make the commentary a little bit less colorful. So, bit of fun fact for you for Snetterton. Bombhole has absolutely nothing to do with bombs.
You know, that's the greatest fun fact that I've ever heard. Are you keeping up with that for every single week that will come with a new great fun fact that we can discuss on
Yeah.
the stream? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
we'll do.
Fun fact of the week. So let's take a bit of an aerial tour around the track. So we're heading down the center straight from the start finish line into Riches. It's quite a wide right-angled corner. Small straight. We're going a little bit slower than I expected. So we're just coming up into just the short straight. And then we come up to a very tight right-hand hairpin at Montreal. Probably expecting a couple of dives to happen at this corner, but traction is going to be quite limited coming out. Got a short squirt of a straight down to our first left-hand corner at Palmer for T3. Quite a wide corner, but a little bit challenging coming to then the outside. And then there's a little bit of a slightly curved straight heading down into turn 4 at Agostini. You've got just enough time to get a decent amount of speed, so this is a fairly heavy braking zone into the left-hander, which is tightens a little bit as you come round. Very easy to go wide here. Then you have a little bit of a straight into turn 5 for Hamilton. This is when we're coming into the infield of the circuit, and you have quite a number of corners, one after the other. After Hamilton, you come into the left-hander T6 at Augies, followed quite quickly afterwards, leading into turn 7 for Williams. You can go quite wide coming out of Augies, but the runoff area is very, very rough. So as you come out of Williams, you come onto the back straight of Bentley. It's quite a long straight. It does allow you to get a decent amount of speed picked up. It was raining here in practice, and as it is in our overheads, so people are going to have to be judging their braking zones at the end of the Bentley straight. Very, very carefully. You come through a very fast left-hander through Brundle into a very, very tight right-hand 90 degree at Nelson. Then you come around into the infamous turn 10 of Bombhole. There is that very, very big dip right on the corner. It's very, very good at unsettling cars and spitting them right out onto the left field there. As we come through this very, very long, wide right-hand corner for Coram, which is T11, just kind of keeps going on and on forever. Quite often you can kind of lose track of where you are in the corner, and then you're very, very suddenly faced with turn 12 at Murray's. Very sharp left-hand 90-degree corner, and then you're coming back down into the center straight to finish off the lap. Pit lane entrance, really, really nice and sedate here, as well as the pit lane exit as well. So hopefully we won't see too many issues with pit ins and pit outs. Real life GT3 lap record here is a 146.1. That time did get beaten in the midweek practice. This is one of those tracks where the ACC times do have a habit of being quicker than real life. And that was set by a McLaren 720S just this past year, so only a few months ago. So yeah, that is your Snetterton circuit.
Do you have any comments on the waving man that we can see in the background here in wood?
It took me forever to figure out where on track that actually was.
Well,
Everyone
where
always
is it then?
keep talking about it, but I never saw it.
Where is it then? Where is it, Sam? Tell us.
I still don't know, aside from it being somewhere at Snetterton. I don't know where it is in relation to the actual track map. Do you know?
No, that's why I'm
No.
asking you. Maybe Chris will know. Maybe he will go scenery hunting for us at some point during the race. Apparently he won't. I'm getting told in the back of my earpiece, or well, he's yelling from the back of the shed. Obviously, earpieces are for pros. We don't have that, but I think that I've been told, or well, yelled at from behind, apparently, Chris, that the race results from last week are about to go up on the screen, so we can maybe have a little deep dive into that and have a look on what happened last week in SSRI, or from 2 weeks ago, to be perfectly fair. Any particular outtakes from this, Sam, except for the obvious strides of Johan Planas with the infamous drive-through penalty that really screwed him over late in the race?
Yeah, I think then the big surprise for me was Frank Hopp finishing P6 overall, our head AM, and with another 5 silvers behind him to the next AM driver of Wouter Vince. So really, really fantastic result from Frank last time out. He was doing quite well in free practice as well. Gotta say a shout out to Steve Parker as well. Even though his race results last time out didn't really coincide with the amount of pace that he had on track, He was quicker in free practice. He was quicker out of all of the AMs in qualifying. He's quicker than all of the AMs in free practice this round as well. Certainly in the midweek practice server. He was, up there with the big guys, even quicker than Andrew Richardson. So, Steve Parker, if he gets a clean race in, he's definitely going to be one to watch.
Well, I remember 2 weeks ago, Steve was also quick in practice, but he couldn't get it together in the race. So interesting to see what will happen this time around. Also, other noticeable things from last time we saw the wonderful, and much talented Tier 2 drivers was the crazy run up through the field by Dominic Giese, who came from, I think, 12th on the grid to finish 4th in that race. He had the pit strategy quite perfectly and was a little bit surprising to me to see him all the way up there. He was in third position with 2 laps to go until Sidek made the amazing overtake that we didn't get to watch because of the great camera's curse that Chris will know all about. A lot of C's there, and we are jumping straight into qualifying, apparently because Chris was sick and tired of me talking behind his back. And look at that, who's on top? It's Frank Hopp, the AM driver, leading qualifying by almost 3/10 to Sebastian Reinl in second.
Yeah, and then already they are very close to matching the real life track record around here. So I'd like to know your take on this, Oliver. Why is it that some tracks, ACC times, end up being quicker than real life, and in other tracks, the real life time is quicker than the ACC times? What do you think that is?
Well, you want the simple question or the simple answer or the long one?
Let's go for somewhere in the middle.
Well, it's up to the physics of the game, really. Some tracks suits the physics of the game better, and we will from time to time see much more favorable track conditions in the game than they have ever raced at in real life. But it's mostly due to the physics of the game. There's not much in it in regards to that. It's not because our drivers are wonderfully talented, which they are, of course, but they are not world-class drivers who will go wreck the records on all tracks and stuff like that. But it's fun to see, and interesting that Steve Parker jumped up into second position now, very close to Frank Hopp. 2 AM drivers leading out qualifying, but still 10 minutes to go. A good mix coming down here, and Ryan is up by 0.2. Can he beat out Frank Hopp? It's gonna be close. Oh, yes, he does, by 18 thousandths of a second. Sebastian Reinl on a provisional pole position, as we see him park almost in the gravel trap.
Free practice was wet, very, very wet, certainly at the beginning of free practice. Towards the tail end, the track was still showing as being greasy with a little bit of fast running, so it's probably given drivers a little bit of a scare as to what the track conditions are going to be like for the race. But just looking at the track conditions now, and overcast with optimum track conditions, and nice temperatures of 24.
Yeah, it really couldn't be any more favorable conditions for racing. I think that Mita just invalidated his lap there, coming out of the corner, unfortunately. But no, it's the greatest of track conditions, but having that wet practice before a qualifying, that can mess up your head a lot. A lot of drivers will use the practice to get their line shot in for qualifying perfectly just before the qualifying starts. But this time around, it wasn't that easy for them trying to do in the wet and greasy conditions that we saw for them running around. Pascal Vida here we follow around in 15th position at the minute. Not that good for him, but he's 0.4 up. Second, 0.7 as he's coming to the line. That will improve him a bit, but will it improve him enough? Into 5th position. 0.6 down from Sebastian Reinl, though. Still a big gap to close for him.
So then, this is something that I noticed in last race and as well. If you look at then the spread of times, down to P12, all still within 1 second of each other. So, and quite a spread of silver and AM drivers in that top 12. So then this field is really, really close in terms of then their time and their overall pace. And I think that's what gave us some fantastic driving last round out. It was a case of just not really knowing where to look.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And well, someone said something about a drive-through, but that seems impossible in qualifying. Chris, stop yelling in the background. As we are following Jonas Planas around the track, and now he's yelling at me, Mr. Drive-through. I said Mr. Drive-through, not a drive-through. God damn it, Chris, stop yelling in your Manchester accent. Good speed there through bump hole corner, as I should say. Taps on the brakes through the long right-hander. I'm normally not the one to do that personally, but that's a preference choice. Planas coming through the last corner, very close to invalidating the lap there. Maybe he actually did. He lost a bit of time coming out that it didn't look that smooth, but will he improve from 1.9 behind? No, ever so slightly. He's now 1.848 behind. Still 18th position though. Not something that he will. Not some Pascal Vita jumps into provisional pole position. Now the silver drivers are waking up a little bit. At least Vita and Reinl have jumped up into the top positions. Frank Hobb and Parker still leading out the AM category. The wonderful Sim Racing Unleashed car here we see. Beautiful purple livery, pops really nicely with the chrome. It's Jean-Luc Boomer. I think that's how it's pronounced, or just Boomer, as we will know him from now on out. We could also just call him that Dutch driver, but there are so many of those around here. We took the virtual travel to Snetterton this week for this race.
Currently 0.5 up on his time, so then this could get him a good couple of places.
Oh, it looks like he missed that one up quite a bit. Commentator's curse, it might be.
No, he's still 0.4 up, although he is dropping a little bit of time. Might be able to make it up in Quorum.
That's interesting with the time lost there through the chicane. I reckon that he could gain at least 0.3 or 4 more on his time than we'll see him as he crosses the line in just a few seconds. It is a long run up to the start-finish line on this track. He passed it just now. He might have been on invalid lap, maybe? Or
no, he improved his time, but it wasn't enough to improve his place.
Oh, such a shame. Such a shame.
Yeah, it's really, really frustrating when that happens. You can put in, time of your life. It doesn't change your overall track position. It just really stinks. Oh,
it does. Mark Scheinel here. P3 in the M category at the moment, 7th overall. The sole and lonely Audi here in the tier 2 of the SSRI. A little bit surprised that we don't have more Audis on the grid. It is a good car to drive, it's very fast, but it's not everyone's taste in driving style or looks for that matter. But I think that Mark have a great livery on this car in the Barbarous Racing team. Racing machinery.
It reminds me of the Pepto-Bismol branding. That's a very American brand, but anyone who knows what I'm talking about, that they're probably not going to be able to unsee that now. The pink and mint green. It is a really, really nice color combination, but yeah, that's all I can think of when I see that color combination. But he's doing really nice, currently sitting up in P7 position. So top 3 of our AM drivers, so good placing for Mark Daniel in a minute.
Reinl is up quite. I know Reinl, he cut down the gap quite a bit there. Improvement on P2, 0.038 now, roughly 0.04 between the two top drivers. They're getting really close up there. Following Franz van der Linde now. Coming up to Bumhole Corner or Bump Corner. What was it, Bump Corner? I can't remember. I'm just having to be AFK for just a few seconds, even though it's very bad timing, but you take it away, Sam.
Yeah, so we're just following Franz
no
van der Linden around. Can't see any improvement on his time at the minute, but I think he's going to hold on to his P10 position. And Frank Hobb just pulled an absolute blinding lap and out of the bag to put himself up into provisional pole. We've got 2.5 minutes left in qualifying. and he's put it in the top spot by 9/100ths of a second over Pascal Vida. So Vida and Renault still out on track, so it'll be interesting to see how they respond to that lap by Frank. And as I was saying, Steve Parker quite up there as well, currently in P4. So the AM drivers then this season definitely ones to watch. They're giving the silver drivers quite a run for their money. So as an AM driver myself, it's absolutely great to see the AM drivers doing so well amongst the silvers.
You reckon you could have been up there same if you were racing tonight?
No, I don't think so. These guys definitely have the pace on me. I'd probably be about mid-pack with these times and at the minute. So I'd be kind of, P12, P14, somewhere around there, I would think. I think I am racing here then this season, but it's later in my season calendar. I think it's in a couple of 3-4 weeks that I'll be racing here, so I'll definitely be taking notes while we're watching.
Oh, you better be.
It's a really nice Ava Racing livery on Mark Shelikin's Lamborghini there. Really, really nice combination. I'm not quite too sure what the white graphics are meant to be, but really, really striking. And Mick currently sitting in P10. It's just been knocked off of P9 by Mark Saniel. But Shelikin's puts it up into P7. So really great lap from him. Got half a minute left. So these are going to be probably the last laps. Got about half the field in the pits, done and dusted.
Lionel is improving his time by about 0.2. We could be going for pole now, taking the short line through, coming onto the ears, going for the pole. Fastest lap so far.
Nice.
9 seconds to go, and from P2 and all the way down to P6, everyone have done their final lap, are stuck in the pits. Party still have this one shot and will be the final driver to set the lap this time around. Planas now we follow, improving by a tiny bit, I think. Maybe Chris can tell me a little bit about that in the background. He's yelling 0.3 up at the minute. Let's see if Planas can improve. 0.3 would roughly give him 1 position. Not that that's what he'll be looking for, but Iron van der Linden have parked his car in the pits and will not improve anymore this session. So Jonas Planas could improve. He's improving by quite a lot. 0.7 so far this time. What will it be across the line? He goes about now 15th position for Jonas Planas. Last week he was, or 2 weeks ago, he was up there in the front of the field running in the race, looking for quite an easy win until he got off to the drive-through penalty. Mark Schentlens went off track there. This must be an invalid lap time. I would assume that far he went off. Dominic Giese now we follow. It's only Dominic Giese and Partis who's out there on track, still doing a lap time at the minute. Dominic obviously running the only fans livery on the wonderful, wonderful Mercedes of the untalented motorsports team. Through the final corner, looking good so far, but he is not improving. He's going into the pits, practicing the pit lane entry for a final time. I think Partis was still on flying lap there when Chris cut away from the wonderful, wonderful live picture spot. He is telling me in the background that he was not improving, so that's all fine and dandy. So that means qualifying is over, Sam. Are you excited for this really mixed grid, we must say, between the silver and AIM drivers?
Yeah, they're definitely really, really mixed. I mean, Frank Hopp and Steve Parker, then they are my standout drivers for this championship so far. And I've driven with both of them, and they have both improved so much over the off season. I mean, it's something that I noticed in the practice servers, and this is kind of explains why both of these drivers have improved so much. The number of laps that they have been doing in the practice servers is far and away above everybody else. Steve Parker has been grinding out 330 laps in the past 2 weeks. So, I mean, that is just incredible dedication. Lots and lots of practice. Frank Hopp doing 109 laps in the 2 weeks between races. So it just goes to show that if you put the practice in, it's gonna benefit you. So, and it's great to see them so far up the field. It's gonna be interesting to see how the silver drivers around them respond, because one of the things that you're never going to get in a just a hot lap practice server is that wheel-to-wheel practice of racecraft. So that's going to be the interesting thing to watch, is to see how these guys have improved in their overall racecraft compared to then the silver drivers around them. But fantastic.
Definitely, but you know what they say about sim racing? He or she who have no life will be the fastest around the track. Which is, for the most part, true. And, well, that just shows you that the commitment that these guys have, they truly have no life other than racing these virtual cars. Oh, we can see the Woodman in the background there. If you can recognize the corner, you can see where it is on track now, Sam. Oh, Chris just jumped away from it.
Chris Pinchbeck was kind enough to jump in the chat and confirm that it is at the hairpin. So the first hairpin at Montreal apparently is where the tree man stands overlooking the track. But obviously, because I'm so busy concentrating on my braking point for that point, it's the reason why I've never actually noticed it. But
now I'll see it every time I drive this track coming into that corner. I'll crash it so many times now looking for that particular tree. Piece of greenage, if you will.
Yeah, so you're gonna overshoot Montreal every single time we come on board with you next week, yeah?
Oh yes. Especially if you say that you're going to come on board with me, then I'm definitely gonna do it. No commentator's curse here, of course.
Right. How much time have we got before the race actually starts? We've got a 1:39.
Just about enough time for you to tell us a good story, Sam, about racing on this track.
I don't have. Oh, actually, no. I do have a brilliant story of racing around this track. I had a complete monitor failure coming out of Coram into Murray's the very first time I was racing with SSRI, I think. And my monitor went completely black. Everything was still connected, so I was still driving and everything like that. But I went completely blind and had no idea where I was going. So thankfully I didn't collect anybody on my way careening across the fields. I completely cut Murray's corner and ended up slamming into the pit entry wall. But yeah, so that's my fun story of Snetterton, is having a complete monitor disconnect right in the middle of a corner.
What a fun story. I can only imagine how fun it must have been being behind the wheel of that.
It was horrifying, especially considering it was one of the very first races that I did with SSRI, trying to make a good impression. And yeah, thankfully I didn't take out the entire field because, well, I was at the back, so it didn't matter.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Well, taking out the entire field is normally a good way to start off your racing career in SSRI, though we haven't seen that for quite a while now, the true wipeouts, but they could appear anytime soon, as we are now currently on the grid, as they are actually running for the formation lap. It looks like, oh well, Sebastian Ryan is. Oh, and Frank Hopp is moving as well from P2, V to P3, Parker P4. I'm not going to go through all of the cars. I think you have much nicer and more broadcast-friendly accent, Sam, so maybe you'll take the grid.
Okay, so I'll take over from P5, Alexander Delore. P6 is Router Vlisma. Then we've got Mick Shellikins lining up in P7 next to Ike Choose. Then we have Dennis Meader alongside Irigius Partis. Timo Zajdik alongside a third place and driver Mark Samuel. Then we have Frans van der Linden lining up alongside Cohen Greens. Behind them we've got Jonas Planis with Rachel Frintz. Then Dominic Gies lines up alongside Arjen van Linden. And then Peter Bocklund lines up against Jesse Van Driel. P21 we've got Jan-Juk Boma alongside Oscar Actis. And then the back row of the grid is Wouter van der Wert and Suke Vervaat. I do apologize if I mispronounced anybody's name.
Don't apologize. It's part of being a broadcast. You can pronounce anyone however you want, and they'll just be like, yeah, that's me. Yep. I've actually heard that you have Dominic Gies' name is actually pronounced Dominique Gies. You have to say it like Italian, even though he's very German.
I am not going to attempt that because I am going to be commentating with Dom next week, and I don't want him to be mad at me.
No, then you should try and give him a German salute when he joins in a booth. But let's not talk about that on the stream because we don't want to be demonetized. Forget that I ever said anything. As we are halfway around the track coming down the Bentley Straight now, we don't see a lot of cars weaving. As I say that, Ryan obviously starts weaving. People prefers warming their tires up with the regular brake check style doing. Foot on the throttle and foot on the brake in the same time. Generate the heat and friction there. Gets everything nice and ready, especially when you're coming up to the end of the lap, when you're just before starting the race. You really want to get those brake temps up and running so you're ready for the brake into turn 1, which on this track you'll probably still have to touch the brakes through the first turn on the first lap, but the hairpin with the spooky man in the background, that's where it's all going to happen. As they have now started lining up side by side, not far away from race start now. A little gap there further back. Some ghosting going on. Good to see, good to see. People in the YouTube chat, maybe you can make your predictions now for race winner or race carnage taker. Please feel free to write that in the comments or just press F if you want me to shut up. Coming onto the start-finish straight. Waiting for the green light. Everyone is rushing to their positions as we are now under the start procedure. Still waiting. Everyone's on the straight. We can see the green flag at any moment now. As we are racing! Ryan off to a great start. Frank Hopp goes slightly defensive there. Vida falls into third position. Further back, it looks like Alexander Delors is making an attempt on the move on Steve Parker, but Parker seems to have defended quite nicely. The first top 3 is looking very straight there. Steve Parker here still in 4th position, doing a great job on the start. Archie Bargy further down the field.
Yeah, I did see a couple of free wides going into the chicane. It's Montreal, sorry.
Yeah, well, I think that's part of the second split. You really want to make up the positions in the start of the race, as this is an incredibly tough track to overtake on. 3 wide further down the field, coming onto the tight hairpin. No yellow flags shown so far. They must have figured it out. I'm a bit surprised about how clean the start has been so far. Great driving all around. As Parties, one of the main drivers from the previous race, all the way down to 11th position, with Sidek directly ahead of him, also a driver finishing on the podium. No, that's Mark Scheinel. Mark Saniel ahead of Parties. That's interesting. He shows up behind on our timing board, but Saniel actually ahead of Parties at the minute as he's coming under pressure from Dominic Giese. Giese goes to the inside of this very fast corner. This is not a good place to make the move. Lose a bit of control of the car. Giese there on the outside, makes a move around the outside, but coming up to bump corner now. This could be interesting. Is going to leave the room. He is. A side-by-side incident have happened down in the chicane just behind us, as that looks to be Iron van der Linde trying the outside move, following Dominic around, but that is not going to work for him there. Great move from Dominic.
Great driving from all 3 of them. Really, really respectful.
What a drive, but look at that, Van der Linden under pressure now from Johan Planas. coming into the first corner. This could be trouble for these drivers. The McLaren versus the Ferrari, but Planners just bails out of that one. Smart aware driving, knowing that it's not a good place to go side by side.
Oh.
Massive incidents have happened up in turn 1. I think that's Steve Parker, one of the cars involved in the Ferrari. Oh, another car goes around. Parker definitely involved in that one. Oh, the carnage have started. Dominic is parked there on the side. I choose once again, second race in a row that I gets into instead. Oh, just squeezes out.
And
The
Steve
beautiful
Parker is facing the
moves
wrong
that.
way
Oh,
again.
that's Parker. Oh no, 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 Parker. We're all cheering for you here. And oh, that's one of the Dutch cars. Is that a Wouter Rins? We see that in the background in the Aston Martin. Seems to be, it looks like Wouter Rins is off the track as well, coming out just behind. No, that's Peter Brookland. Oh, it was such a shame for him, but that leaves the top 3 with a massive gap further down to the rest of the field. This is great news for Ryan, Hub and Vida. Such a shame for the rest of the drivers back there. It looks like Vard is also causing a bit of an incident at the minute. Here we see him falling quite far down, but do remember that there is a mandatory pit stop in this race with tire change. Back to the lead we go, Sebastian Ryan. On pressure at the minute from Frank Hub, but Frank is not the one to give up on a good fight. He's eager. Oh, that was a bad exit from Ryan. This could be Frank Hub's chance to take the lead of the race. And would be the first time this season that we would see an AM driver leading the second split races.
They didn't quite have the legs on the straight, but it looks like he's had a much better acceleration.
Oh yes, but that's a little bit too late on the brakes.
Brave on the brakes, and yeah, as just that's probably going to cost him down to P3 possibly.
Yeah.
Down to P4.
Well, I think he was looking for
bit
this scary tree mate.
Bit ambitious there, but still fantastic to see an AM up in the overall podium positions. But yeah, we can see quite a considerable gap down to P4 and the rest of the pack after that pile up at then the hairpin. I've seen this quite a lot in racing recently. When everyone is being ultra careful on lap 1, everybody thinks, great, we're past lap 1. Now we can race.
I think this is Steve Parker. We're following Parker's off onto the grass and just loses it.
Oh!
Gets collected, spins around a few times, and now all the cars is going to come. Steve Parker just parked. That does a little bit of a no-no that by starting to move, that causes Max Scheinel to hit the brakes hard and turns around. Ike choose in the background, that forces Dominic to come to a complete stop there. It looked like on the background that Parker just loses it once again on the throttle.
I think with how badly he got hit, that car is probably carrying a considerable amount of damage. So that Ferrari is going to be an absolute handful until he decides to pit.
Oh, look at that in the front.
That damage fixed.
Ryan under pressure once again, this time from Pascal Vida, it looks like. Ryan just can't seem to get some rest in this race, even though that there's not an entire train of cars behind him. They are all looking for the move and take that lead away from him. And if Vida pressures Ryan just enough, they might start losing time, and that would put Frank Hub right back in it once again in this race. This could be interesting later on, depending on how it pans out and how much they're willing to work together at this stage of the race.
So just noticing that Steve Parker is now in the pits, getting that damage fixed. He is now moving, so he's a good lap behind, but I believe he has he's cleared his pit stop requirement, so we could go to then the end of the race now. So gives him plenty of opportunity to try and make some places up. So it'd be interesting to see how he gets on his recovery drive.
He will definitely try and go to the end of the race now, but what a lad for us staying on and keep racing. Just as we like to see it here on the Simsport Racing International channel.
Definitely. Then this fight for P1's getting quite spicy. Sebastian Brunel and Vida, Pascal Vida, in really close contention. They seem to be very evenly matched. So
Yeah.
one's closer than the other in certain places, and then the other catches up in other parts. So I've got a feeling that this battle is going to continue for quite a while. Frank Hoff has dropped back a little bit. He's currently 1.8 behind Vida, and then we've got the big gap to P4 with Nick Shellekins.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's going to be very difficult for Vida to make the actual overtake here on Sebastian Reinl, since that Mercedes have so much ground down the straights. He might have some better acceleration and cornering abilities, but when you don't have the top end on the other car, it can be very difficult to make the overtake. He will have to send a little bit of hope for Reinl to make a mistake and really capitalize on it, as he was just about to do there, running just so close to being wide, but keeps it just on track, does Sebastian Reinl. Through the inside section of the track, coming back to the left-hand side of the shaft. I mean, the left back straight, the left straight on the track.
I think you meant to say the Bentley straight.
Yes, the Bentley straight is what I meant to say.
Yeah, I agree. Vida in the Ferrari being just slightly down on power on the Mercedes. His best bet now is to stay as close as he can, keep filling Vida's mirrors with that Ferrari and try and force him into making the mistake. He is going to be a little bit. He does appear to be a little bit better on the brakes than Renal is, but yeah, he's losing it in the straights. Considering there are two very long straights here, it is going to give him a bit of hard work. As I've just noticed, Frank Hopp has gotten the fastest lap of the race so far.
You've had that for quite some time, Sam.
Oh, I've only just noticed it flag up. But fantastic. Am driver with the fastest lap of the race, 10 minutes in. It's great.
Just, we have a question in the YouTube chat asking if Steve Parker retired. No, he is not. He is running on the track and have just went through the bumhole corner, coming onto the start-finish straight. Though he is a lap down, he have done his mandatory stop and are continuing to race here. We have him on the camera, so everyone knows that I'm not just a dirty liar. Still racing is Steve Parker, I must say. Sorry, Steve. You're such a lad, you are. But again, another focus here in the top lads driving here. Pascal Vida in the Sim Racing Holland Machinery, and Sebastian Ryan in BM Machine Racing, which would be BMR in short. Not that if that means anything to anyone. Or
it stands for BAM. BAM. BAM Racing.
Ah, he does the BAM Racing. Oh, nice, nice. Nice catch there, though, Sam.
That's only because it's written on the sheet in front of me. It's not that I actually managed that out, worked that out in my head.
What, you actually have a sheet?
I do. I'm prepared.
Oh, professional it seems like, almost.
Yeah.
I'm probably just warming up with a few beers, which I think everyone in the YouTube chat should do as well. And once you have been drinking your beers, you can once again write in who you think is going to win the race. I'll put my money on Steve Parker.
I've just seen Patrick Prince come up into the YouTube chat saying that we should start calling Steve Parker Sideways Steve.
Oh no, that would be so mean.
That is just cruel.
Wasn't Steve the driver last season the driver who was drifting on both Paul Ricard and on Brands Hatch, giving us a great show on the stream? I seem to remember that. Great improvement here. We have the midfield fight with jumping further up to a little bit further upper midfield fight between Sidek, it looks like, and Mida, another Mercedes driver. We don't have many Mercedes on the track, but we do like to see them pop up ever so often. They seem to be involved in a lot of action so far this race. Dominic being spun around early in one of the Mercedes, Ryan leading the race, and Mida right here defending from Timo Sidek from the hot air balloon team, running one of their famous blue liveries, often racing either blue, red or green. This team is always with the black background. A few decent endurance results, as I remember. A 4th place at Donington last season, if I'm not mistaking much. Not that anyone here could remember that anyway, so I could say anything and it would be true. Basically, but I do feel like they finished 4th or 5th in that race. A top result for them.
Just reading all of the comments in the YouTube chat, giving big props to Steve Parker for continuing to race. A lot of people saying that he needs credit for that. Rockwater saying I would have retired with that crash and at the beginning of a 1 hour race. So it's really great credit to both Parker and Dominic Geese that they are still running. And then they're just gonna wait it out and see what comes to them. It's one of the things that we at SSRI absolutely love to see. We love to advocate it in all of our drivers that just keep driving. It's great practice. It's great for your consistency in terms of how you're actually ranked in the game. And you absolutely never know what could potentially happen to cars in front of you. You've seen it time and time again where somebody has ended up right at the very back, thinking that they're not going to get anywhere, and then all carnage breaks loose in front of them, and they get 5-6 positions back. So
I see someone go wide in the background. I think that was Van Driel. Sorry to interrupt you, Sam.
No, then that's all right. I was pretty much coming to the end of my point, so it was well timed.
Oh, thank you. We have questions on what lap times the top drivers are running in the second split of SSRI around this track, and I think Sam with the sheets can give us a good hint on that, or indication of what kind of times they are doing right now in the race.
Yep, so when our current leader is currently running a 1:46.9 as his best time, and I do believe that is also fastest lap in the server at the minute. Pastor Vita, his last lap was a 1:47.6. Best times, they're breaking into the high 46s.
Like
at the minute, so
we'll
hope that has helped Rockwater.
On the side of the track here, yes we do. That's with that coming back onto the track.
That was a close rejoin. Thankfully, that didn't collect.
I think it looked much closer on the stream than it actually was, though. But interesting to see still. That's not good for Bavard's race if he goes into a pit stop now. That could be interesting to see where he would come on. Yeah.
That is quite early, but if he's got damage, if he potentially had an off that we didn't see on camera. Rockwater, thank you for letting me know who you are. Justin DeLong from Tier 1 race, so obviously watching to try and get some pointers for his race next week, and explains why he's asking about times. So Justin, I will be keeping an eye on what your times are like next week when you are out with our Tier 1 guys around Snetterton next Wednesday.
Oh, actually, fun fact, when I was doing a practice for this race, I was in the same server as we have the 23 car off on the track. I was in the practice server same time as Justin Dion. And I noticed that he was a lot quicker than me. I paid great attention in detail on how he was running the track, though we had different cars. I did notice some tricks that he was doing that I've brought into my own driving style so far. So thank you for that, Mr. Dijon. Which also shows that you can always learn from other people. If you spend time watching their driving styles and replays and stuff. As Timo Sidek now almost gets a half move on meter.
Yeah, I would...
Back straight we go. If he does get a run, he does take a wider approach, which could give him more exit speed. But he would need much more than that to make this dive work. In the top hand screen we see Timo Siddick and Dennis Meter, I believe, and at the bottom we have Mark Scheinel. I always butcher that
Daniel.
name anyways.
Daniel.
Saniel, something with planners ahead of him as he goes wide with Van der Linden behind in the interestingly colored, almost golf-styled McLaren or Ferrari, I do believe it is actually. Coming in around. One of the closest battles on track at the minute, which is quite interesting to see. Also great to see the Audi running here. Not that many of those picked this season for SSRI, but what a wonderful machine to look at.
I've never really gotten on with driving the Mercedes. I don't know why. I've just found that it doesn't really click with my driving style.
Apparently, a lot of people says that my team we decided on the Merc earlier this season for endurance, and basically at this point of the season, it's only Dominic and I who doesn't hate it with a great passion. We actually both love it. Ooh, close racing up here in the top 3 as Frank Hubb is in the mix once again. They all come together almost in the hairpin there in turn 2. It looks like that Pascal Vida have taken the lead. Is that a Reinl in second? I do believe it is. Vida must have made a move there into the hairpin.
Yep, I'm sure Chris is on finding a replay of that, because I think we came on board right in the aftermath of that overtake.
Oh yeah, we did. I think that Chris is working his bottom off to find us a replay of that. As we follow the 3 leaders here coming around the track. Beautiful to see. It's almost like the old RAF fighter planes in formation coming around here with these 3 drivers up running the track. Beautiful to see around Snetterton. Hitting almost every corner as they're supposed to. Car 24 and 4 are off in the second turn. That's Partis and Brooklyn, I believe, that have been involved in something. No sleep till Brooklyn, of course. As we go here with the replay of the overtake, I do believe. A long replay it is indeed. Coming on start finish straight. Reinl gets a little bit of an oversteer moment there, a little bit too aggressive on the throttle, hitting the curb. Now Vida comes on. Goes to the inside, little bit of argy-bargy there, pushes him wide. Remember that Robbing is racing in these conditions, which gives Frank Hubb the run on the outside. Goes into second for just a brief moment, goes to the inside, small touchdown, coming out the corner once again. But that was the action that we just saw and missed, or we just missed and now saw. As Pascal Vida is now leading by almost 7 of a second. Good drive from him so far in this race. Just keeping it consistent is what you need around this track. If you start having the bad luck, it can be very difficult to get out of that that rhythm that you just put yourself into. And the frustration of driving, having that bad line, you'll keep overthinking from that point on. You might even have dirty tires with some pickup on them. Another driver coming into the pit, that's Buima. The man with the 3 names.
Yes. Just past the 40-minute mark left in the race, so those pitting now still a little bit on the early side.
Yeah, but remember 2 weeks ago in the second split how strong the undercut seemed to be.
Yeah, yep, definitely. So
this could be an early attempt at an undercut, though it does seem to be a little bit early for that. Rans Van der Linden here, and that would be Blishma, I believe, with a hot air balloon of Timo Siddick ahead of them. Yeah, I seem very fast today with the names. Definitely. Through Bumhole corner they went. The long right-hander. Leading onto the center straight. Slightly different lines. That looks like France might actually have the drive here. Sucking in the slipstream, but that Lambo seems so fast on a straight line in comparison to the McLaren, but he does kind of show a little bit. could just be cycling.
No,
Way
he's
different
much
lines here.
better on
Frank
the
actually
brakes.
does have an option here for the dive. He does go for the dive on the inside, gets it stopped on the apex. Nicely done. What an overtake there. Franz van der Linden up into
Beautiful.
P8 now.
Yeah, that was all done in the brakes by the McLaren. It seemed to be able to get that car stopped a lot quicker than the Lamborghini. So very fantastic move there.
Almost seemed a bit easy there for him. Steve Parker up into 23rd position now. 24 cars starting the race. Could have been a retirement. Could have been an actual overtake from the legend Mr. Warrior himself.
It is an overtake. We still have Rabat running currently in P24. So, yep, Steve Parker making a place up into P23.
And the YouTube chat went wild. We can hear you all typing out there. Mark Samuel here, I think I pronounced it right this time. 11th
You did.
running, yes. Ooh, side by side here, Parties and Brooklands. No sleep till, of course, on the outside here. Parties keeping in 18th position, one of the main drivers 2 weeks ago at the Hungaroring. Not that different tracks, both really technical tracks where you need a lot of driving skills to perform well, so I'm a little bit intrigued to see that the Ferrari of Parties is all the way down here in this race. But you never know, the field is so tight, he goes wide there.
Yeah, it took way too much curb coming into just coming out of Williams. So there's quite a nasty bump just on the inside of that curb there, and he just caught it all wrong, speared him over to the other side of the track. So it's lost quite a bit in bit of time, but seen a couple of more cars into the pits. Router Vince and Actus coming in from P15 and P16.
Interesting to see if we'll get Parties into the pits as well now to try and undercut Van Drijl directly ahead of him. Maybe what I would have done to try and get out of traffic.
No, he has decided to stay out.
Keeps out on track. Maybe he just wants the action for us broadcasters here and for the people out there watching from their counters, on their phones, on their tablets, on their whatever. Maybe they're even Morse coding it through the internet directly into their heads through the Starlink system, or however you're watching it out there. Anyways, he's doing it for you guys, definitely not for strategical reasons. So as the drivers are coming out of the pits, they're not that far ahead of our race leaders on track. They might even get blue flag during their out lap, which is somewhat interesting to notice.
That's Steve Parker that's in the midst here. So the red and blue Ferrari is Steve Parker out of position.
That's not what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the track map, seeing that the guys who have just come out of the pits, they are directly ahead of the race leaders. This could mean traffic later on as some of the lower end drivers goes into the pits for the race leaders if they don't watch out. As Franz van der Linden jumps in this time around, definitely trying the undercut strategy by the 5 minutes. As we saw a lot of people 2 weeks ago, it didn't work that well for the second split drivers who tried it. It'll just be about hitting your brake markers directly in the pits. Also interesting to see if we'll see any drive-throughs in the pit lane entry this time around. It's definitely not the worst entry on the entirety of the calendar, but it's also not the easiest and the best. The pit marker board are a little bit hidden behind a small chicane coming into the pit lane. If it haven't been taken down, as Mark's channel still behind the Planets this time, I didn't get it right. Once again, doing what he can to overtake Planets here. These two seem to be almost glued together. Also beautiful cars when you pair them up against each other with the liveries. Look very nicely on track.
I'm just looking further up in the timing board. Frank Hopp now showing in P2 with Rhino in P3, but what's caught my attention is that they are now over 3.5 seconds behind Vida. So I'm just wondering if you know they've had a little bit of contact. They've had a little bit of fighting, and it's allowed Vida to just drive away.
Yeah, or maybe the
Very
tires just
interesting.
started to die on that Mercedes behind. It's not that rough on the tires, but maybe the long right hand on the track or bad setup there for Sebastian Reinl could be the thing for him this time around, as Bowser Blitz may have gone into the pits this time around. Also, it's not just the gap from Vida to Hub, but also the gap from Hub to Reinl is quite big at the minute.
Yeah. So you're right. It might be tire drop off as opposed to the two of them kind of tangling with each other. But yeah, it's just interesting considering the last time that we were on board with them, all three of these drivers were in very, very close proximity to each other. So something has happened, or as you say, nothing has happened, and it's just been a tire drop off and sudden lack of grip.
Yeah, also a little bit interesting here that we'll go get a replay here. Maybe something actually happened. This is Frank Hub's Lambo, I believe.
Yep.
Oh, that's Reinl. That is Reinl off into the grass we see on the outside.
It looks like he just missed his braking point and just sailed through
That
the corner.
is so easy in that corner. Slight bit of trail braking for most people coming into that one. But anyways, a little bit of a side story here with Jenkins and Delors. Two people that we haven't talked that much about in this race, doing very anonymous races there in P4 and 5 at the minute. Somewhat surprised that we haven't seen much of them, but again, they're just doing their thing, minding their own business, keeping control of the tires and the strategy, it looks like. I do believe that it's Ava Racing Arigato, it says in some kind of Asian language there behind on the team name. Don't quote me on that one, please. People say that I said that live, but I think that we can delete that from the rerun of this later on.
No, it's live. It's out there. No backsies.
Oh, there's backsies, definitely. I think that Sebastian Reinl would like one after that breakpoint mishap. As iChoose jumps into the pits up to Frans van der Linde here. Looks like he's behind, is that Van der Rijl ahead of him? Van der Linde have been into the pits and are now being held up a little bit by slower drivers. If he gets close enough to Van der Rijl. It is quite interesting to see that this is the first race of the season where the strategy really comes into play, that you want to box in the exactly right time to avoid this kind of situation. Or at least for the top drivers, I think I'll take that into consideration next week in the first split, that traffic could be an issue. Not that I'll be one of the faster drivers who end up in traffic, but it could be a back marker ending up being cut by the front runners.
Yeah, so we've just passed the halfway mark of the race. As Van der Linde just goes for that overtake. I don't think Ryle fought that too much. He knows that they're on completely different strategies. So.
Oh yes, halfway through the race, and half of the cars have been into the pits roughly at the minute, or exactly half, I think.
I believe it is exactly half.
Yeah, I can do maths as well.
I certainly can't do them in my head, so.
I'm math good. Anyways, Sidek here we follow around. Maybe some onboard pictures would be nice to see how these drivers are working the wheel around here. As Sidek are chasing down Vida. Here we go. From inside the cockpit of the Lamborghini, the hot air balloon Lamborghini, not the top air balloon, that would be different. Look at the lines he's taking and whether or not he's wrestling the wheel a little bit there.
Yeah.
But very steady in general on the hands for Timo Sidek, a tire wear master normally, an endurance specialist. You can really see from in here the different lines and how Vida is definitely struggling a little bit more keeping control of that car.
Yeah, I think the tires on that Lamborghini are just starting to go. You can see just a twitch of the wheel correcting oversteer just as it comes out of some of the tighter corners. So
It must be how we like to run the Lambo. That's definitely how I
Could
like
be.
to run my McLaren, with a little bit of a twitchy car, where you can really feel whether or not you got it right or wrong on the throttle. Maybe not the fastest, but it works for me at least. This is so difficult, this corner, following in behind. Blind apex from behind, coming up to the bump corner. And from this angle, we can really see how it dips down here on the inside. Oof, as the race leader, Pascal Vita, come into the pits.
Oh, and Frank Hopp has followed him in as well.
And Frank Hopp joins him, yes, as Sam said.
Yeah. But Reno decides to stay out.
He wants the lap in the lead, or at least one more lap in the lead. Not the greatest exit there from Sidek, but they both come into the pits. This is going to be an interesting battle, almost coming together on the pit entry. Very early on the brakes there for both of these drivers. Looks like that Sidek had practiced that pit entry a little bit more than me, and was prepared to go deeper into it.
Yeah, that was almost contact, because as far as I'm aware, ghosting doesn't happen until after the pit limit line, so that could have been a collision.
That is correct, Sam. Let's see who comes out here first. We'll be following them until they go out, as the two drivers in virtual P2 and 3 drives out ahead. Frank Hopp looks to be in third, virtually, of course.
And I think Frank Hopp has definitely left in the pits. I think Pascal Vita is still stationary, so my only guess is that he must be fixing damage as some.
Oh, here we go. Mida and Sidek coming now. The two drivers we were following behind. The other white Mercedes are Reinl, who's leading the race at the minute. But Sidek jumped Mida there, didn't he? He was behind. Yeah, there must have been damage repairs there for Mida. That was a bit strange. Good catch from Sam Pierce. You wouldn't happen to have been looking at pit stop times there, would you, by any chance?
I wasn't, no. But I do know pit lane here is quite short, so the overall pit time is a lot quicker here than it is with a
There's
lot
a car
of
far off into the grass, turn 2 at the minute, the car 3. That's Alexander Delors. Still stationary, jumped back to the garage there. He might have retired after that. Could have been a tough impact for him. But Sebastian Reinl comes into the pits this time around. Let's see if he comes out of the pits ahead of Vita and Hopp, or if he'll fall right back into third position where he was before the pit stop rounds. Whether or not the overcut was worth it for him. No traffic for Vita and Hopp, it looks like. Split screen came up here. Max Staniel in the lead of the race now, with Jonas Planners behind. Fun fact that it's the first lap that he's leading this season. Here we go, Vita, and goes into the virtual lead of the race. Frank Hopp goes into virtual P2, it looks like. I can't really get them on the track, but yeah, he is definitely virtually P2. But what a gap between Vita and Hopp. Just looking at it, it's not Hopp who's the McLaren behind. Hopp is the blue and gold Lamborghini. We can see two cars back in the frame.
Yeah, in just under 4 seconds gap.
That increased by almost 2 seconds. I believe it was 3.0 before the pits. Oh, well, almost a second then. Let's not over-exaggerate more than necessary, of course.
So we still have Samuel Planis and Van der Linden yet to make their pit stops with 3 minutes left.
Another car's off in turn 2. That's Vivard. Vivard is stationary now in turn 2. As I'm getting a little bit of a lag on the screen. But maybe that's just me. Maybe it's our cameraman Chris Hill who's doing stuff in the background. Don't be looking at those naughty websites, Chris, while broadcasting. Anyway, Frank Hopp we follow around still. It's a blue flag car as Mark Samuel jumps into the pits from the lead. Will Jonas Planners follow him in? No, he won't. He's staying out on track, but Ian van der Linden comes in from third position. There should be no trouble for Vita, Hopp and Reinl by getting past these guys, and quite a few others I would expect. as Shinklands is still virtually P4 in the race, and Sidek have jumped quite far up now into virtually P5.
Yeah, been a really, really good round of pit stops for Zydex. Definitely helped him out quite a bit there.
Yeah, Springham gets the move done there here on the back marker, the 25 car. That's Buema, Boma, Buema. Call him whatever. He can't say anything about it.
Just looking at how our Warrior Steve Parker is getting on, still in P22, but is making up some considerable time on Jesse Van Driel, who is the next car up the road. It's taking quite a considerable amount of time. And as I've been on watching him, he's actually overtaken. So Steve Parker up into P21.
Yeah, this is about he just gets it wrong there into turn 1. I've done this many of times in practice though. He goes into the catch fence in the background. That could have given him some suspension damage. Not easy to control now. Getting it back on track is a difficult thing as well. Good thing hit so wide. Oh, contact on the rejoin. Not the smartest thing there from the vet. Though second time around he just gets onto the track cleanly. Or well, he gets onto the track cleanly, not just, but he gets onto the track cleanly the second time around. Not his proudest moment as Planas is into the pits, who is the last driver, no, not the last driver to take the pit, second to last driver to take the pit, but the last of the front runners on track. So we'll have Pascal Vida and Frank Hop now, P1 and 2. Lionel will take P3 as he comes by. Vivat is in the pits once again. Rhodes Parker into 21st as he have been overtaking Fendrail. Fendrail. Of course it is Fendrail. Looking at Planet where he will rejoin onto the track. Some good luck. Chris will not move away from this. Staying on him until he gets put down from the jacks. Yeah, he gets moving. That was Sandel. Sandel definitely jumped him on that pit stop round.
Yeah.
He's coming out. Is that really 11th position? It could be 11th, but that'll be 10th when Wouter van der Voort jumps into the pits from currently P8. Is that Ike behind? No, it's not. It's Iron van der Linden. So good drive from Ike, recovering after that early, I think lap 2 big crash he was involved in. Up into P14th at the minute. Very close to Cohen Geens ahead of him. On board with Iron van der Linden now. Inside the beautiful cockpit of the Ferrari. It looks like a spaceship in here.
I do really like the interior in the Ferrari. It's a really nice car to drive.
Really? I haven't driven it yet.
I've taken it for the past 2 seasons. Pretty much jumped on it as soon as it was released because I found it just as easy to get in and drive as the BMW one before. Decided to take it out for a spin for another season. Probably change cars, look to change cars for next season.
Oh, you'll probably the time of Gal will be driving the Lexus then. I take that as a clear yes.
Yeah, no. That's a very clear no. Sounds wonderful, but that's about it.
No, it's fun to drive as well, I guarantee. I've driven it many times. Though I've never picked the car for a championship while being sober. Many regrets of that. As we have Ike Choose and Cohen Geens here. 2 beautifully painted cars, especially Geen's car. That's one of my favorite liveries all season now, both Tier 1 and Tier 2. As they're coming into the first corner, I definitely have more pace than Geen's around here. We've seen so far in the race, but whether or not he can actually make the move and get an overtake done, that's a different story. Though if Geens does that, it looks almost easy for Ike. Remember the inside turns to outside, but he is so far ahead now that he'll have full control of that corner.
Yeah, then McLaren definitely does seem to be really, really good on its brakes and around here. So really good job there from I'd choose.
Well, I think the McLaren is good on its brakes on all tracks, basically. I think we'll see more of that later on in the season as well, with the McLaren being able to brake much, much later than a few of the other competitors. Excuse me for a minute.
I'm not too sure what happened there. Are you all right?
No, I'm just dying in excitement of this great race here on the Simsport Racing International YouTube channel. Obviously, that's what's happening.
Okay. Just noticed Steve Parker, with some of the pit stops that have happened around him, promoted up to P20. So, Steve Parker.
Yeah, but I think that's an unscheduled pit stop for Buema there. Boma, sorry.
That's right. Yes, he has pitted already. So I think this might be a second stop for Boma.
Fuel calculations
yeah.
on damage. It's a little bit difficult to tell from us in the box, but definitely not something you want to do strategy-wise here. Strategizing for two-stopper. I wonder if Van der Vaart have forgot that he have to make a pit stop in this race. Still hanging out there in 10th position, being a little bit in the way of planners at the minute.
Yeah, he could be deciding to go long, but you know, seeing as you have to take tires as a mandatory, it doesn't really make sense to go really long on your pit strategy. But,
at least not where he is. I guess maybe from the top guys. Steve Parker we are following around, as we didn't follow him around anymore. Parties also a little bit interesting that he's so far down the grid after the pace he showed on the Hungaroring.
Yeah,
but
when
that's just
winning that race, and you know, going from P1 to P19 the next round out, yeah, quite unusual pace for this time.
Yeah, but this just shows how competitive this league really are. You can be fast on one track and then you're down here in the next one. All drivers so closely matched in pace, and it's basically up to who have the better day, who had the best shit in the morning, and who's hitting the apexes most rightly throughout the race. Not making any mistakes are key around here, since that's the best way of getting an overtake done, are taking advantage of another driver making the mistake.
It could be down to track familiarity as well. You know, when we've mentioned a couple times already that Snetterton is not a popular circuit, so it could just be that Parties, you know, just doesn't have the experience around here that he has at Hungaroring, which is a much more popular track.
Oh, it could easily be that. You know, myself, I have never driven around this track before, at least in this game. And I think that a lot of other drivers are basically in the same boat. Maybe some people have driven GT4 cars around here, but that's a completely different beast, as founder Van der Vaart finally went into the pits to take his mandatory stop. Seeing him drop down the order, currently into 16th. He might get demoted to 17th if Dominic can get enough speed in that car. A little bit hard to say. I actually think Dominic will make the overtake. That is Giese, for those who are wondering why we're naming people by front name. That's because the last names or surnames are usually too difficult to pronounce correctly. So it's just easier for us. And since, well, we all know the community names of these drivers, easier for you guys as well.
Yeah, and Dominic East does manage to get that overtake done, and Van der Vaart is also lost out to Parties as well, so dropped down to P18.
Yeah, P19. I actually think it looks like that No Sleep Till Brooklyn have overtaken him as well on the track map. Camera now we have Frans van der Linden and Mida once again in focus on the stream in this race, and van der Linden as well. Both drivers have been featured a lot this time around, involved in a lot of action so far. Mostly good, of course, for these guys. As Mida goes right, van der Linden could get the dive done. He chooses not to. Would have been a bit of a set from that distance, but you never know if you can psych someone out enough. They might make the extra braking mistake, and with dirty tires, that's not unlikely. In the bottom right-hand corner, you can see the onboards of the McLaren of Franz van der Linden. Look how steady that car is. It looks like it's on rails the way he's driving it. What a machine. As we can see, the rear end of Mita's Mercedes just slipping all the way around when he's trying to get that power down. That big front engine beast of the Mercedes, that's a bit tricky here, as you can really tell how Van der Linden can take the tire lines around this track. That McLaren looks so good around here. A bit surprised that the best McLaren in the field at the minute are P6. As Mita goes a little bit defensive for no particular reason into this corner, goes back to the apex. Both cars coming in nicely, closing up, under braking. Into bomb hole we go. Mita gets a little bit of a bump there on the outside of the curb. That does unsettle the car for the bomb hole. You can normally take that corner almost full throttle. Some drivers could probably do it full throttle, but not me. I would have to lift most of the time through there if I'm not low on fuel. Great exits from both drivers onto the center straight, I believe it was called, the start-finish straight. Yep,
right.
It was, I'm being told. Svart has been causing another yellow for himself. Back driving again, good lad as well. Good lad as well. As Van Dreiler, the only driver still in the pits who have... Oh, there should be 2 retirements. I think there was 24 that started, now they're close. This could be a matter of traction on the exit. Looks like the Mercedes just got that bit of traction there. As Van der Linden really is trying everything he can to get that McLaren up into speed. But this just shows how difficult it is to overtake around here. That is not really a good place to do it unless if the driver ahead makes a mistake. Especially when you don't have the speed to just pull out and make the move on this, in a straight line.
That McLaren is taking much tighter lines once he's in clear, so I think it is going to be down
Whoa, Mita goes around, Mita goes around, losing it on the exit, really giving it all there, did Mita. But running a little bit out of talent, it looked like, or just tires.
I
One
think
of
he
the
caught
two.
a little bit too much than the curb and the car just let go.
Yes, that is so unfortunate for him. Mita must have dropped more than just the one position to Van der Linden. On my timing screen, he is down behind Siddick and Max Daniel. Can we see here? Just gets it going before Blinchma, it looks like. The yellow Lambo behind them.
Yeah, so he's in between Saniel and Blisma.
Yeah, put into a tough sandwich to be in. And now he'll have cooked tires. It's not easy to get those back into control, but he will have to manage them now for about 10 minutes. Around Snetterton to get this Mercedes to the end of the race. I hope he wasn't too tight on fuel, and that wheel spin would have lost him the little bit extra that he might have had in the car. It looks like Vard have retired as well from the race, parked in the pit lane. Over that, unfortunate for him. No, he didn't do a good job of trying to get that car going all the time. Also, the driver had difficulties. Van Trail might be his teammate. That's a little bit sad for them in the team's championship that they're both stuck at the pits or have retired from here.
Then they're staying in the server, which is good, and that this is something that I recommend, and all drivers do. Even if you've had a really crap race and you've decided to park it and give up, stay in the server, because especially in championship races like this.
Whoa!
Almost. Oh, that must have been millimeters.
That could be something going to the stewards for an unsafe rejoin.
Yeah. But yeah, as I was saying, field of 23, fairly evenly split between silvers and amps. It does mean that there are class points available even for finishing last. Then there are points available all the way down to P13 in class. So it is worthwhile, even if you decide to park it and you've had enough, stay in the server. Get the free points.
Yeah, no reason not to, as we saw Boehmer once again being facing the wrong way around the track
Yeah.
in the purple, what is it called? The purple McLaren? Purple McLaren, yes.
Yeah. Then
And Planas
definitely
was the other
some.
driver we saw there
Yeah.
involved.
Definitely some questionable rejoins happening here. I think we're getting down into the latter stages of the race. There's only 7.5 minutes left. I mean, then this race has just flown by. So we did see some stops happening quite early, and I've got a feeling that when with this track, you go off track, off of the racing line, and you just destroy your tires. You can see lots of marbles off the racing line, and the grass is literally right there. So really, really easy to get dirty tires. One mistake can lead quite easily to 3 or 4 consecutive mistakes within a lap.
Oh, definitely. And once you start going off track, there's a good chance that you'll continue going off the track, and the time lost by being off, it's quite treacherous. So some of the, let's say, more questionable rejoins could be that people are trying to maintain position. As here we see what happened to the beautiful, beautiful Lexus, Sam's car for next season of racing.
Yeah.
Just goes right there and then loses the back end, slight touch of the grass. Of course, that turns it into the spin.
But we're just gonna. He's trying to keep it under control. But,
trying to do his best to stay out of the way, but that little bit of wheel spin he got, that just killed it for him. Spinning back around the track is not recommended.
It's very much not recommended, but it is so easy to do. There is just so little traction on grass, tiniest little bit of throttle, and you can pirouette the car around. So drivers just need to be patient and take your time getting off the grass. Wait until you're completely straight and facing the right way before applying even the tiniest bit of throttle.
How will you face the right way if you can't get on the throttle, Sam?
I mean, using a little bit, but not stamp on the throttle like it looks like that some of these drivers have been doing.
Everyone here, we are racing drivers, and we have tried that ourselves so many times. This is Planas. Let's see what happens to him. That's
ambitious.
Whoa. He went in there way hot.
Yeah.
Or were the McLaren just parked on the apex? Hard to say, but it looks like he went in there way hot. Gets going again, but
even
that McLaren
the
must have had damage. That was a Boehmer's McLaren we saw there get completely rear-ended.
Yeah, that was from the corner before, taking just way too much speed. I'm surprised he managed to carry it through to then the second part. But yeah, that was never going to happen in a month of Sundays.
No, though a month of Sundays would be quite nice.
It would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, although there would be not a lot of payment for those of us working on an hourly basis, but we could probably figure something out anyways.
Yeah, it's fine.
Then we could maybe start a Sunday SSRI league and get a professional commentators in. I would definitely be their first pick.
As we're just coming up to the 4-minute mark left, just looking up and just down the timing board, not very many close battles going on at the minute. I think our closest is P12 potentially. I'd choose behind Planas, I think, is our closest battle.
Planas having a lot of damage that could actually turn to an overtake, as we see Dominic now getting blue flagged from Pascal Villa. Some replay here from board with Oscar Actus.
Oh my god! Wow!
Great reactions there from Oscar.
Oh.
What a lad! Just continues as if nothing happened.
I know. That's just phenomenal. I would have just ended up in a ball in the side of the track, trying to figure out what the hell just happened. So no, fantastic reactions there from Oscar Actus.
Great reactions as Pascal Vita still leads the race, really controlling it out in front. After the pit stop round, it seems like no one have been able to challenge him whatsoever at all. A man who have done almost no mistakes this race, putting no foot wrong,
Yeah,
keeping
he's
his
been.
eye on the target. Also Frank Hobb in second position, the aim driver up there. And Sebastian Ryle, who have had a troublesome race, still maintaining third position and fastest lap at the minute.
Yeah, Jane, just looking at Pascal Vita's overall times, he's been really, really consistent in the mid to low 147s. So he's just out front, just grinding away lap after lap, being really, really consistent, and that's helping him just increase that gap over Frank Hoff, which is now sitting at just over 5.5 seconds.
Yeah, stunning performance he have done so far. Showing off for endurance teams out there that he's a man to have. Maybe actually have a team already, that he's a man that you want. Try to get him around as we see I choose here trying to get the move done on Planas for 11th position. Planas, remember, must have a little bit of damage, or quite a lot of damage on the front end of that Ferrari. This could be Ike's opportunity coming down this straight. It is a good overtaking opportunity if you can just get your wheels up on the side of the other driver.
Okay, the leader is on the final lap
Although
now.
it is
Give it what
difficult.
you can.
Small oversteer moment from Ike Choose. This corner I always get wrong, and then the braking here can be difficult if you get that slightly wrong. As you can see, the Planner's really struggling with the car ahead. The dark blue Ferrari of Johan Planners. Not doing well, but Ike also maybe a little bit eager. He maybe is desperate to get this move done at some point, low on the speed difference. Ike gaining a little bit on the straight.
Yeah, I
Actually
think
quite a lot. He might even go for the dive, though it would be risky. No, falls in behind. That messes up all these corners for Ike. He'll lose a lot of time on that one.
Yeah, I think the Ferrari had a little bit of a twitch coming out of Williams onto the Bentley straight, which allowed Ike to just close that gap.
Must have been Sam. Onto the center straight. This is where there would be some action happening, if action will happen. Although Vita is doing some overtaking of back markers. On the final lap he must be, I don't think he can make it across the line from here in just under 20 seconds. No, it should not be possible for him to do so. Oh, Dominic is off in the background.
Oh,
GG's Dominic. Vita flashing the lights. Hope he's not running out of fuel now, then he'll look hella stupid. Never celebrate before it's over, but Pascal Vita in control of the race. With the Lexus behind, now he can start flashing. He could roll over the line from here. Winner of race 2 of the SSRI Tier 2 Championship, Pascal Vita from Sim Racing Holland. Frank Hobb coming in second position and winning the AIM class. Great result from Frank. 2 good races in a row for him. Sebastian Reinl will take third position. The 3 drivers who escaped the big crash on lap 2. As Dominic also finishes the race in 16th. Further down we will have Mike Shinklins coming in to take 4th position. If nothing goes massively wrong for him in the last few meters. Like an engine blowout. Franz van der Linden 5th. Just waiting to confirm Sidek in 6th position. Mark Channel. Sanyel, of course. Stop reminding me in the background, god damn it. 7th position. Danish Meter 8th. Blitzmer very close to him in 9th. The beautiful Ferrari of Iron van der Linden rounds out the top 10, and then Sam Pierce can maybe say a few words. How did you find the race, Sam?
Not quite as much wheel-to-wheel action as we had in the last round out, but still very, very interesting in terms of strategy. And people just showing a little bit of kinks in the armor. We had a lot of off tracks, some unusual rejoins, I think is the politically correct way of putting it, but just looking at the overall standings, I mean, Frank Hopp taking his second win on the trot, but interestingly, Mark Sanyol coming in second in the AM class. Coming into this race, he was P4, but Router Vince, and especially with Vervat parking it in the pits towards the end of the race, I would suspect that Mark Sanyol is now going to leapfrog up into P2 in that AM class. Obviously, places to be finalized once any stewarding decisions have been made. But definitely some couple of changes will probably go on in the AM class standings. But Frank Hopp is going to have a commanding lead with 50 points straight after just 2 rounds. And I suspect to be a couple of places are going to change within the silver class as well, although my maths are not quite good enough to figure those out on the fly as we speak.
No, but just remember that at the end of the season you will get your worst result scrapped, as you'll have the scrap result in this championship. So you can have one completely dreadful race or miss one entirely, and that race will just not count. You will not score any points from that. Even if you finish all the races, then it will just be your worst result that will be taken away. So you can have that one off race that this could have been for some of the drivers, or quite a lot of the drivers, honestly.
Yeah, it's a really great feature of the SSRI Championship is that drop round. Does allow you for when life happens, you have to sign out of a race, or you just have an absolute abysmal outing, as I'm sure Vervat and Vandriel can attest to. But yeah, it does allow them to wipe that score off their board at the end of the season, and gives them a lot more of a fighting chance overall.
Yeah, as we are just hanging around the chat for just a few more seconds, waiting to see if anyone will come in and join us here. Though it is getting way hot and steamy in this small chat with the 3 of us sitting here. Maybe we could open a window. Oh, and we do have a taker, it looks like. Hello and good evening, Sebastian Reinl. What a race from you today. It's push to talk, Sebastian. It's push to talk.
Why you muted me? Good evening, Mr. Anderson.
Oh yes, don't forget Sam. Don't forget Sam. How was your race, Sebastian? We looked a lot of your race, but maybe we can get a few words from you on how you think it went.
First of all, I think in the first few rounds, it was clear to see that the guys behind me were way faster, also in Sector 3. So I was a little bit surprised that I get the pole position and also the fastest lap of the race. So I struggled a little bit with the pressure from these guys, then made a mistake, and that was it for me. So
yeah, you did seem to struggle a bit with the car around the circuit today. Was there anything setup-wise you think you could have done differently to get that under control?
Oh, the setup was prepared also for rain. So it could have happened that after 30 minutes the rain come or something like that. So I was prepared for everything. So nothing I could change there. All good.
No, are you ready for the next race, Sebastian, or have you not even started thinking about that yet?
I haven't think about it yet. Where is it? On which track?
That's a good question that Sam will answer you, and Chris will just be quiet in the back of the shed while Sam figures this out.
It is Kyalami.
Oh, Kyalami.
Great chance to get some practice for the 24-hour.
Yeah, I also need some practice there. Similar like Snetterton, as I said 2 weeks ago. Not a single lap there, but Kyalami is not that bad. I already have some laps there.
No, but I mean, for the first time racing at Snetterton, I would say that you did a pretty respectful job finishing on the podium. just narrowly avoiding that big lap 2 crash in turn 2 also.
There was a big extent. I haven't seen that until yet. So
Why do you think the three of you got away so big in the race? God damn it!
I thought we were really quick in the front. So
Oh, you were.
uh,
There was a massive pileup, lap 2, turn 2, in the hairpin, which pretty much piled up half the field.
that's really sad.
Yeah.
I think also Steve Parker was involved there.
Yeah, I think so.
I was missing my friend behind me.
Yeah, and that other voice we just heard was Mr. Second Position and AM class winner Frank Hopp, who have joined us in this very small and tight shit.
Yeah.
How was
Kind of a-
how was your race, Frank? And congratulations on winning twice in the AM class. Though
Yeah,
you
thanks
might
a
be
lot.
looking at the overall championship at this point.
Well, just wait and see. No, yeah, I had a really good race. I had a really good qualifying, so that helped me out quite a lot. So that saved me the big shunt then in the second lap, I guess. And I had good pace. So I made one mistake in the second corner, I think, trying to pass Sebastian or something, or I'm just missing him. I just completely missed my braking point. And that's when Pascal was able to pass me by. And yeah, they were just a bit quicker when they were in front of me. At one point I was catching them, but then they got away again. And then I don't know what happened with Sebastian's pit stop, but then he was all of a sudden like 10 seconds behind or so. So that was a bit funny. But yeah,
That's a good question that Sebastian maybe can answer. What the hell happened to you in the pit, Sebastian?
Well-
He's put himself back on mute again.
Yeah, he doesn't want to talk about that.
so but I had a really good fun. I had a really nice setup, so I could more or less play a bit with the car, and that was awesome. So, and then Snetterton is almost nice.
Almost nice. It seems
Almost
to be very
nice.
nice. Seems to be very nice for you out there.
Yeah, but still, it's just such a weird track in my opinion. So, but it was good fun going like this, and just really happy to finish second overall. That's something I would never have expected anyway. So I don't know who all signed out of the race because there were a lot of sign outs, but yeah, thanks.
Anyways, when you went off in turn 2, were you looking out for the wooden tree man in the background?
Yeah, well, I tried to miss him, that's true, but no, yeah, I completely missed my braking point. So I was already quite happy that I was still in third, and there already was that gap, I think then due to that accident, I guess. Because I don't know where that exactly happened. But yeah,
Well, just behind you, literally just behind you.
okay.
Yeah.
That's where it happened. Anyways,
Well, that's, yeah, so. But go on to Pascal.
Yeah, that was just my fault. You got it just right. Anyways, Pascal Vida, congratulations on the race and finishing it first and foremost. How do you think it went yourself?
Yeah, thanks. Really awesome race. Really difficult. I think for me, patience was the key.
There was maybe a little bit of lack of that at some point. Maybe.
Yeah, it was all about waiting for other guys to make a mistake. But yeah, really awesome.
But when other guys they don't make the mistakes, doesn't it get a little bit stressful sitting there behind? Although you didn't sit behind many people for long.
No, definitely not. But still, the traffic was very difficult. So I was hoping not to lose a lot of time on hop. But yeah, everything worked for me.
Yeah, it seemed to go your way today. Also, good laps early in the race and good qualifying as well.
Yeah, really.
Did you expect this coming into Snetterton? Because I think that most drivers that we have heard from have been, oh no, we don't want to race here. It's so difficult. It's so hard. We have never been here before. How did you feel about your chances coming in here?
I practiced a lot, and it paid off.
It looks like it. P1, does this mean that you will be gunning for the championship at this point? 2 good race results in a row.
Difficult. I cannot join all races because of my work. But I will do my best.
Oh, but then you can have one of your friends take over from you with a VPN and stuff. You can probably make that work.
Yeah, maybe.
I think Sam can step in if you want her to.
No, not if he wants to have any chance of any decent pace. No.
No, or keep the safety rating or anything like that, or some decency.
No, it definitely take a dive on a safety rating.
Yeah, probably, but easy result. Are you looking forward to Kyalami and maybe keeping up the streak of good results? Pascal?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you want to repeat the question repeated?
Is Kyalami the next one? Because I'm gonna miss that one, I think. Yeah.
Oh, unfortunate for you.
Yeah, that's a fun track. It's a lot better than Snetterton.
Oh,
But that's good for me.
Yes.
Great racing, Pascal. Congratulations to the victory.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, really tough.
Anyways, mixed singles, hello and welcome also to the small and way too crowded shed.
Hello.
Can you really feel the steam coming off of my body heat now towards you, warming you up after that hot race?
No, I can feel steam coming off myself. Jesus. I that accident happened right in front of me. I got really scared.
Yeah.
Did you get collected in the accident as most of the field did?
A tiny bit. There was a car coming from the left, crossing the track, taking someone out, and there was a car diving from the right, going past me. And then I got through that, and I got a tiny tap and half turn around. But apart from that, didn't get much damage.
No, it looked like you had one of the more, I would say, anonymous races today. We didn't see much of you on the stream, but well, that's normally a good thing. Means not a lot of action happened around you. Maybe was it
No,
just all alone driving after that big rig, or did you have a ton of things to see too?
No, I think there was number 3. Lamborghini was behind me for a while, within like 2 seconds, 1 second, until the pit stops. And after that, he disappeared and had like a 10-second gap to everyone. So I just kept driving there. But
Well, you
yeah,
could have maybe slowed down a little bit just for the fun of us broadcasters and get some action for us.
I don't want to give up my P4. That's the best result I've had in a while.
Well, with the P4 this time around, will you be looking for maybe a little bit more in the championship looking forward?
Well, I have to say that I said it to my teammates during the race as well, that I feel really out of place in P4 because usually I'm down to like 10, 12, like last race. So I don't think I can repeat this easily.
But never say never. I remember the first time I had a decent result. I felt the same, and I was sweating a lot in the final few laps. Couldn't really get into my mind that I was up in the position like that. But then all of a sudden, the results just kept happening up there, and I didn't know what I was doing differently. I think that you could be in for the same sort of surprise pace you'll find over the next couple of races. We know the Lambo will be good at Kyalami especially.
Yeah, I haven't driven track for a while, so I have to.
No pressure on
Practice
your
a bit.
shoulders, obviously.
As long as it's not this track's not fun.
No, well, then you haven't seen what the track is shaped like.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I just had to mention it.
It's a bit of a weird one.
Yeah.
It's especially the 90-degree, 180-degree corners that my car was just not finding funny. Like the final corner is not that bad, but it's just the 90-degree corners with weird curves that annoyed me most of the time.
Yeah, but it looked like you had the car under control. We also have Frank Hobbin as well, also driving the Lambo. Maybe you can exchange notes after this this small get together in our small and tight and crowded shed. As we are getting ready to shut down the stream. I'm not getting told in the background, but we are because it's getting late.
Oh. I don't want to keep anybody's bedtime.
No, well, it's more like drinking time, but
Yeah,
We
that I
can't-
can I
we
can
can't say-
second that one.
We can't say that publicly on the stream, but we all know what's going to happen when we are done here. So out there, remember to tune in next week, as it's the Tier 1 guys who will be attempting to drive just as clean as the second split guys around the wonderful and famous Snetterton Raceway. I'm Oliver Anderson, Mr. One of Oliver. With me tonight on the microphones and the broadcast have been the wonderful Sam Pierce and Grandpa Chris Hill controlling the cameras. Have a wonderful evening out there, and I hope to see you all next week.